The days had blurred into weeks, and Edda's life had settled into a quiet rhythm. She awoke with the sun, spent her hours weaving, and shared the evening with the villagers, their lives intertwined in a way that felt both simple and profound. Yet there was a restlessness within her, an undeniable pull, as if the forest itself was whispering, beckoning her towards something beyond the village's borders. It was during one of her solitary walks through the woods, a place she had come to know as intimately as her own heartbeat, that she felt a change. The forest, once vibrant with life, seemed still, too still. The birds had stopped singing, the wind ceased its playful dance through the leaves, and the ground beneath her feet felt unnaturally quiet. It was as though the very air was holding its breath. Edda stood at the edge of the forest, her gaze fixed on the path that wound deeper into the woods. She had never ventured beyond the familiar glade, but now, something tugged at her, urging her to go further. The stories told by the villagers spoke of ancient ruins hidden within the forest, of sacred spaces where the earth held memories older than time itself. But no one had dared to visit these places in generations. With a steadying breath, Edda stepped forward. The path grew narrower, the trees taller, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The silence was oppressive, and yet Edda pressed on. The forest was changing, and she could feel it in her bones. There was something important waiting for her, a missing piece of the tapestry she had yet to weave. Hours passed as she wandered deeper into the heart of the woods, and just as she began to doubt her resolve, she came upon an opening. It was a glade unlike any she had seen before, vast, eerily silent, and bathed in an unnatural twilight. In the center stood a structure, its ruins barely discernible beneath the weight of centuries. It was a loom, but not like the one she had used in her studio. This loom was massive, its frame woven from the gnarled branches of the oldest trees, its threads stretched taut like the very fabric of reality itself. A chill ran down Edda's spine as she approached it. The loom seemed alive, pulsating with an energy she could feel deep within her chest. The threads were made of silken strands, shimmering with an iridescence that beckoned her to touch them. As her fingers brushed against the threads, a vision overtook her. The tapestry she had been weaving with such dedication, the one that had captured the storm, the villagers, and the weaver, unfolded before her eyes in its entirety. But there was more. She saw the weaver's face again, not in the tapestry she had created, but in the loom's threads, woven into the very fabric of this sacred place. His eyes were dark with sorrow, and his hands were poised over the loom, frozen in a moment of desperation. She saw him weaving not just the threads of fate, but the very nature of time itself. And then, as if to warn her, the threads began to unravel, each fraying strand a symbol of a reality slipping through his grasp. Edda gasped, pulling her hand away from the loom. The vision faded, but the weight of its meaning lingered. This loom was the true source of the power she had felt in her own work, the magic that had woven the storm and bound the village together. It was the heart of the weaver's legacy, the place where destiny was truly shaped. But why had he left it behind? And why had he vanished, leaving the tapestry of fate incomplete? Before she could contemplate further, a sudden rustling sound broke the silence. Edda turned to find an old figure emerging from the shadows of the trees, a man, hunched and weathered, his face hidden beneath a cloak of moss and ivy. His eyes glowed with a familiar intensity, and as he stepped closer, Edda recognized him. It was the weaver. His form was changed, worn by time, but there was no mistaking the wisdom in his eyes. And as he approached the loom, he spoke, his voice low and full of sorrow. "You've come to the heart of it all," he said, his words echoing in the stillness. "But it is not yet your time to understand. The loom must remain silent, for some threads must never be woven." Edda's heart raced. She had so many questions, so many fears, but she knew one thing for certain: the answers she sought lay in the loom, and in the threads that had been left undone.